Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 124 of the WP Café show. This is the show where we give you the real, unfiltered experience of running our WordPress business. I'm Mark Wilkinson, and as always, I'm joined here by my colleague and co-host, Keith Devon. We're both from Highrise Digital, a tiny agency building WordPress websites and products. Today, we're diving into a few topics. One of them, the headline topic you might have seen on the thumbnail, is kind of view transitions, which is something that I found recently. I thought was quite exciting. So grab a brew, soft drink maybe in this warm weather here in the UK, settle in, and you can see what it's really like behind the scenes of running our business. You can also follow the WP Café show on X at WP Café show, and we're on Blue Sky and the web at wpcafe.show. If you enjoyed the episode, please consider subscribing to the Highrise Digital channel, like the video, and please do share it around with someone that you think might find it useful. It's always nice to get some new faces and new followers. So, as always, how have you been this week, Keith? What have you been up to? What's your week been like?
What have I been up to? It's been okay. Just quickly, just want to know if people can hear you okay, because you seem quite quiet. I know you're on a new mic, and I just... Me? Yeah. So, like, be interesting to see what the balance between our volumes are, if anyone can chime in with that. But yeah, other than that, a good week. Yeah, outside of work, very much enjoying the weather here. A bit hazy today, but it's been glorious. Heat wave, sunshine, lots of sea swims. I'm very lucky to live very near the sea, so I've been taking full advantage of that. And then work-wise, a few WordPress builds on the go at the minute, which has been good. And then I've done quite a lot of offline kids work this week. So for those who don't know, it's a website that we launched. It's probably like 5 weeks ago or something now. It's a while.
Probably more, actually. Yeah,
it could be more. Yeah. So it's a website that we launched, and it's basically it's a directory of screen-free kids activities. So if you're a parent or a carer and you need to think of something to do with your child and you're trying to pull them away from their tablets or phones or TVs or whatever it is, hopefully the website gives you ideas. So one of the ongoing tasks is just adding more and more activities. So I think we're up to somewhere in the 140s, I think, in terms of total activities now published.
Bigger and bigger.
And I think the aim is to get to around 500, because I think that would be enough that there's enough activities there to suit like lots of different occasions and situations and age groups and all that kind of stuff, but not so many that it's just completely overwhelming. So we've spoken about that kind of balance before, but yeah, I feel like that's the kind of number to aim for at the moment. So I was adding a bunch of activities, whole new category around clubs and groups. I also should put lessons in there, because I was thinking like swimming lessons and like tennis lessons. So I don't know if I'm going to change the name of that, but it's to catch all that kind of stuff where you go along with other kids and do something together outside of school, or maybe even an after school club or whatever. Yeah, so I've added that, and then I did a little bit of actual work on the UI as well. So I've made the filters or little expandable boxes now, so that you can see all the filters at a glance, and then expand the ones that you want to drill down into. I think that's improved that a little bit. I've just changed a few bits and pieces. We've got an ongoing to-do list, don't we? We just add things to, so I was checking off a few of those. I think you've done a few bits and bobs on it too recently.
Yeah. So interestingly, just before I just say that, I got the newsletter today.
Oh, yeah.
So you're sending out a newsletter every Friday with like a summary of activities and what's been going on. And I was really impressed, because it landed in my inbox, and I didn't immediately know what it was. And I looked at it and started reading it. I was like, oh, this is quite cool. And it suddenly dawned on me, oh yeah, this is the offline kids thing. And it was really good. Anyway, that's beside the point. So if you haven't signed up to the newsletter and you want to get some ideas about stuff to do, it is really good, and it's a nice read. So I do recommend it. What have I been doing? I have been fixing our custom headers. So for the filtered pages, when you click on like a specific filter, like for example, you might choose activity type of games and indoor. So for indoor games, it generates a generic heading or H1 based off of your query. So it'll do like indoor games activities for kids will be the default heading, but you can create a custom one using our plugin, and you can set whatever you want. The problem is that was only working on page 1 of the results. Well, as soon as you clicked on a paginated page, it would put the default one back in. It was basically because I'm using the URL slug to sort of find the right custom heading, and once that had page /page/2 on the end, it couldn't find the right one. So I fixed that, which is nice. So those custom headings should work across the site for paginated results as well. And I fixed something else, but I can't remember what it was now. There was 2 things.
You did the page meta titles and descriptions. We can do those more.
Yeah. So for pages where you have set a custom header, you're going to be able to also set a meta head title, so a heading on there, and a description, so that it'll do a bit of SEO work on there as well. So they should be working. I tried them, I tested them, and they worked. But fingers crossed, they'll start working on the site as well. So you can have a bit more fine-grained control over what those are. Now, the initial thought for that was to say, well, let's just use Yoast SEO, because we could just set them on the posts that we've created for the custom headers. But the problem is our custom header posts are not public. We don't want them public on the website, like coming up in search results and giving them a URL and everything like that. And Yoast just doesn't work on stuff that isn't public for obvious reasons, because it's not SEO stuff, is it? Yeah. So I had the decision to either go in and start manipulating Yoast to work on my post type, or just to put these on myself. And I just thought it was going to be easy just to give us a few fields in the back end that we can set some stuff in ourselves. So that's what we've done on that. Yeah. So yeah, that's my offline kids stuff. Got a few other things to try and do, which is on the list, which you can get to. But yeah, it's coming along really well, and I think the traffic's going, isn't it? Getting bigger and
yes, like really, really slowly. But I mean, that's okay. Like I don't really mind. Like it's just kind of everything's trending in the right direction. You know, we're not getting loads of visitors yet. Google's still, I think, kind of learning about the site and kind of trying the site out, as it were. But the impressions are going up, the average position's going up, the clicks are going up. So yeah, slowly but surely we're getting there. Yeah,
it's looking good. I like it. Love it. Love the site. It's nice. You should have a look at it if you've not had a look. It's good.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was that. What else have I been up to this week? I've had quite a few job relay calls, actually. Oh, that's interesting. Keith has just disappeared. Oh, well, hopefully be back shortly. I've had quite a few job relay calls. So sales, they've been sort of coming in as well as WordPress ones. We've sold a few this week, which has been positive. Don't know why that seems to come in like cycles. Like you get hardly any inquiries for like a few weeks, and you get then loads of inquiries that come through at once. I'm not sure why. Keith just messaged me on Slack because his StreamYard just crashed for him, so he's restarting Brave. He'll be back in a second. So I was working on those and doing those calls. As I said, we converted a few, which is always nice. I also did a webinar this week on how to integrate multi-posting services, job services, with websites. It was more of a generic webinar. It had a WordPress edge on it, obviously, because I'm a WordPress person, but it was more to sort of inform recruiters and developers of what the process would look like. And then obviously we promoted our products at the end of it as well if people wanted to use those. So that went well. I thought I delivered that okay. I don't think there was many watching, but it's kind of like evergreen content. It can sit there and people can watch it and sign up for it still. So that's quite nice to have. So that was that. Beautiful day playing golf yesterday with the weather. The weather in the UK has taken an upturn in terms of temperature and sunshine, which has been nice. So that was good. Yeah, nothing else really exciting that's been happening for me. So that was that. So while Keith is just rebooting, I think he might have to restart his machine, I will continue holding the fort and talk about the next thing on our list, which was kind of like the headline thing. In fact, no, I'll wait for that, and I'll wait till Keith comes back, because I'm sure he's got some questions and comments and things, because it's quite front-endy, shall we say. So I'll move on to what I've been looking at with Job Relay and the development in Job Relay. So I've been trying to do, I've been trying to do a few things. The headline one, though, which is the one I'm really struggling with, is, I don't know if you remember a few weeks ago, we talked about adding jobs to a queue and using like a background processing task so that large amounts of jobs could be queued up and then delivered at the right time when they needed to be delivered. And I got that working, and then it broke, so I turned it off and reverted it. So what I wanted to do was to revisit that to try and understand what the problem was. So part of my thinking for that was to enable it for only specific users. So when I pushed it live originally, all the people that were using Job Adder were then going to use this new queuing system. And it seemed to work for a few days, and then it stopped working. What I wanted to do is to say, well, actually, can we have a mechanism where we can say just customer A uses the new version, and then we can see how it manages with that customer. Then we could introduce another customer and another customer and so on. The benefit of that is you're testing it with a small cohort, obviously. And if it breaks, you can quickly have a look at what's breaking without having to fix it straight away and it affecting everybody, so that you can kind of see the thing in action. So I did that, and I enabled like a version 1 and a version 2 in our system. So you could turn one, you could turn a customer onto version 2 and it would move to that one. But then version 1 stopped working, which was really annoying. And I couldn't work out why, and I still haven't today. So essentially, I was using a test XML file that had 50 jobs in it, and my code processed those jobs, and I can count the array and say, yeah, I've got 50 jobs when just before they're sent to the website. And then when they send to the website using WP Remote Post, standard sort of function in WordPress to post stuff, when they arrive, there was only 29 in the array, which is rather odd. So all I'm doing there is I'm just taking the post request at the destination site and then counting the array again. So for some reason, it was like losing a lot of the jobs, and I just don't know why that is. Could it be something like the body's too big in the post request? I mean, this was on my local MAMP install. I was doing it, but I just could not get to the bottom of why it was like stopping at a certain amount of jobs, or it was losing those jobs in the array. So I'm a bit baffled as to what that is, and still so I can't progress that until I fix that issue. So obviously I don't want to push that live and we'll be in the same situation again. So I was working on that, which was really frustrating. That was, what day is it? Friday. That was Wednesday. Spent most of the morning on that. Didn't really get anywhere, and had to sort of like put it to one side and just reset, and hopefully, you come back with a bit of a better picture of what's going on. Hasn't happened yet, but I'll crack on with that next week. And then the other thing I was working on, which is really important, is to make the error messages that Job Relay returns much better. So there's two aspects to this. One of them is when a job gets delivered into Job Relay, it obviously does some checks. It checks the license and subscription details to make sure that's happening. That they've got an active license and subscription. And it also checks things like, does the job have the data that you need? So all jobs need a title and a description and a reference and so on. So it does some checks like that. And at the moment, the checks happen, but the reporting back to the user isn't as great. So it's a bit more of a generic failure message rather than a specific message to say what actually has failed. So therefore, I am still looking at trying to fix that and making that a bit better. So Keith has just asked me for the StreamYard link. I'm not actually sure what he wants, but I will send him this. See if that's any good. So that's what I've been looking at this week with Job Relay. So I'm trying to get those logs better, trying to get those reporting back to the user. So when the user gets the error message, it has more specific information about what failed and why. And also tied to that, there is an email that gets delivered to the customer, and that needs to contain the error as well. And at the moment, it's more of a generic, this failed. It's kind of a bit more detailed that, but it doesn't really give you the crux of what the problem was. And tied to that, I'd also like to put some documentation together that is tied to each error. So this error, why don't you try these things? For error A, for error B, why don't you try these things? Like, these are the things that might fix it. Or, get in touch with support, because that's what you need. Excuse me. Elliot, thank you for joining us. He says, regarding the posting of data, servers will have limits, e.g. like PHP, INI, post max size and max input vars. Yes, having done some research, I found these, but these were exactly the same that I had set originally and hadn't changed them. So I don't understand why it was working and now why it's not working, because they haven't changed as far as I can see. I could increase them, and maybe that will solve the problem, and I'll check that. But that was what made me think it wasn't that, because nothing has actually changed considering it was working, and now it's not working. Anyway, that's that. So yeah, thank you, Elliot, for pointing that out. I will look at that again, though. It's a good point. Right, so let's move on. Where's my little list of notes here? Job relay. Where are we up to? Yeah. So the other thing we never touched on, and I don't know if you've seen this, was this new Fair package manager for WordPress. So I think what this is it's essentially a replacement for the WordPress.org mechanism of delivering plugins and core WordPress to your website, which is interesting. I think the idea is to try and get websites away from having this one point of failure, one person in charge of that, and moving away. So I don't know if anyone's used it. I installed it on my personal website. It didn't really seem to do anything, but then I suppose it wouldn't. I couldn't tell whether something was updating from their system or from WordPress's system. But I think my take on it was there's a lot more education to give to people, I think, because I couldn't understand exactly what's happening with it, but maybe that's not needed. I'm not so sure. Keith is asking for an invite to a guest link, and I would like to try and find it. There we go. That's the one he wants, I think. We'll try that link. Don't know what's happening at his end. Obviously, something's gone gravely wrong, but we will try and plod on anyway. Elliot also says, added, reject or truncate large payloads without clear errors might also be down to malformed data. It's worth checking where at what point the data is truncated at. That is exactly what I thought as well. And it seems to be always failing at job number 29, which is actually job number 30 because they're indexed, so zero indexed. And it fails immediately that it seems to have formed the post title or the job title. And I thought, well, let's change the job then so it has a different title. But that didn't seem to work either, because it still failed at exactly the same job with a different title on different data. So I was, again, confused as to why that might be. But thank you for those suggestions. You're back.
I think so. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Oh, wow. Well, that was weird. Brave browsers just died on my machine, basically. I did a full restart, and it still won't load anything. So I don't know what's going on.
Are you in a different browser now?
Yeah, I'm in Firefox now, yeah.
Right. Okay, cool.
Yeah. How have you been? What's been happening while I've been away?
Oh, you missed an absolute dream of a show, Keith. I was just talking about the stuff that I've been working on with Job Relay, the development stuff, and cool. I also mentioned this Fair Package Manager, which I know we don't really know a lot about. Yeah. I think the concept for me is good, but I think there's a lot more education about how it works needed, what it's doing, and why it's different to what we've got, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what you've covered already, but I did feel like the concerns that were raised about it were all really valid. Like, is this actually what we want? Do you know what I mean? In terms of, I think what we all want is it to go back to the way it was, but the trust in the WordPress leadership to be back to where it was also previously. So I think that's the main thing. I think if Matt basically hadn't shafted ACF the way he did, yeah, I think we'd all be quite happy with the way things were. Nobody was calling out for a different way to do plugins, were they? But I think it's that lack of trust. I don't really see too many advantages other than it's not completely in Matt's control. That's just that's where I'm at with it. I mean,
I think it exposed some issues that were always there, and actually, regardless of what behaviour's gone on, I think these issues were always present, and therefore it's trying to correct those. I do think it also does other things, like it enables like premium plugins to get involved with that architecture, and so I can find them in the admin and things. So I do think there's more to it than just a direct replacement. And I do think the concept is good, but I'm not. I just when as I said, well, you won't know because you weren't here, but I said I have installed it on my personal site, and nothing seems to change, which I suppose is a good thing. But I don't really know what it's doing then. Where is it getting the content from for updates? Is it now getting them, and where is it getting them from?
Is there no settings to say where you want to get things from? Or is it like, no?
But yeah, so my worry is that you've replaced WordPress.org with something else. How then is that different to WordPress.org? Surely the point should be that it's, I mean, I suppose that the governance of this other thing is different, and that's the key. But this is the education I think we need, and I'm not sure. Maybe I've just not read it and understood it properly. But how does that work, and how's it differently? So,
yeah, absolutely. It's not something that I was crying out for. Like the concerns for me around where the reviews happen, where the ratings happen. Where do you get like data for install counts and things like that? It's all stuff like that I just feel like having something centralized just makes that stuff way easier and possible. But then you could argue that like some of the data was getting kind of taken away from the plugin developers as well, wasn't it?
I was going to say we can't access that data, can we? So
yeah,
I think there's issues around that.
Yeah.
Elliot says, "Eek, you're both the wrong way around, which is not good for my OCD." I completely agree, but I don't know how to get the right way around. Either. So if you know how to get us the right way around, Keith, please do.
No, I think it's because I don't have control over the show anymore. I've come in as a guest, so I can't do anything.
All right, well, there you go.
So
episode 124.
Just close your eyes, or I don't know.
Anyway, let's move on to the headline chat for this show. Have you seen this, by the way, Keith? This view transitions.
Yeah, and I saw it a while ago.
Right.
Just not in the WordPress context, but just because I like to keep up with geeky CSS stuff.
Right. Okay.
So yes, I had seen it, and then I saw it again. I think Remkus maybe mentioned it. Was it on Remkus?
Right.
Was it Remkus?
Could be in his newsletter. Yeah. So
this
at the moment, this is a plugin written by Felix Ontz. I hope I'm saying that right. Who is I believe one of the people that's now on the new AI committee thing.
Anyway. It's a very familiar name, though.
Very familiar name. Someone you'll probably have heard of in the WordPress space. And he has written a plugin which implements support for what they call cross-document view transitions. So that means when you're moving from one URL to another URL, instead of having a sort of hard load, it has this nice sort of like, I want to call it like an animated CSS transition, which I think it is something to do with CSS under the hood as to how it works.
Yeah.
And it's really nice. If you go to my site, markwilkinson.dev, and you just click through the pages, you'll see that it has this lovely transition rather than like a full page refresh, if I can speak.
And that's just out of the box.
All I've done is literally activate the plugin. That's it.
No way.
I've done nothing else. I haven't set any settings. I haven't done anything. and it just looks really nice. So I
Are there
was
any
just really
particular
impressed.
pages where you get a nice effect going from one to the other? Because for me, I can't really see that there's any particular. I don't really notice any difference. Maybe it doesn't work on Firefox.
Right. That's a very good point. It is only on certain browsers, so I'm glad you've raised that point.
Yeah.
There is a Can I Use link here, which I can click on, and I bet you Firefox is red. So this doesn't work on Firefox.
Yeah.
But that does also raise that like it is a progressive enhancement plugin, as in it just does nothing on your browser. So it's fine. That makes sense. But if you try it in Safari, it should be fine, I think. Yeah, Safari, the latest versions of Safari are fine.
Quickly boot up Safari and see it.
So it should be fine. It does have some settings. So it says default transition animation, and it's set to fade. Interestingly, you can have it to slide from the left, from the right, from the bottom, from the top, or swipe or wipe. I think that'll be pants. Should try it. I'm
not seeing it on Safari. So, Mark, tell me what 2 pages I should be able to go between and notice something that isn't just a normal page reload.
If you're on the home page, and you click blog, for me, it just fades in. Everything just fades in, rather than having a hard refresh and it loads as a new page.
I'm not getting that on Safari either.
Right. Oh
well. Maybe I'm not on the latest version. There's a potential. I might not be on the latest version of Safari because I never use Safari and I haven't updated macOS in a little while. So,
all right, maybe not then. But I don't know if anyone else can have a look, see if they think it's working. But markwilkinson.dev, and just have a click around, and you should see a nice faded transition between each one. But yeah, I thought it was really, really nice. As I said, there are a few settings you can change the animation type, swiping left, sliding. I've just left it as fade. I think it's quite nice. Interesting.
So it sounds like that plugin is taking like a whole page approach, as in this complete screen is going from that to this, and it's doing it either by fading or moving or sliding or whatever. But there's much more to the API than that, as far as I know. So good. I think you can animate like individual elements. So for example, on your blog, right?
Yep.
You've obviously got a list of blog post titles. And I think that you could set it up, maybe not with this plugin, but if you knew the CSS, you could set it up so if you clicked on one of those titles, that title would like it would grow and move into position. I think it can do things like that. So if you click like an image thumbnail, for example, in an archive page, that image thumbnail could animate into the hero image. I think it can do stuff like that.
Well, I think it kind of does. So I know you can't see it, but if I am on my homepage and I click the first, there's a list of 3 posts, latest articles. The first is like lessons from building sites with the block editor. If I click that, the title does exactly that. It moves up into the title, and then everything else fades in underneath it.
Yeah, I'm just not seeing it because
So there obviously is settings, and in the back end there is a header selector. To provide a CSS selector for the global header. There's also one to provide one for the main content selector. Mm-hmm. There's a post title selector, a post thumbnail selector, and post content selector. So it looks like there is some control of like setting up those transitions as well. But yeah, I thought it was just really nice. And I'm not usually one like massively into like these animated sort of things, but I just thought this was really nice. Dead simple plugin, just literally installed it and it just kind of made it better.
Yeah, that's very cool. And it's made me realize I need to update my browsers that I don't normally use.
Yeah, you're not usually the first to update macOS, I must admit.
No, I just
what you on actually, out of interest?
Oh, don't. I'm going to be ridiculed. What am I on? 14.5.
I'm on 15.5.
Is your life infinitely better than mine currently? Am I
absolutely
just missing out in this utopia?
I'm not sure. Paul, hello Paul. Thank you for joining us. Paul says, pretty sure I saw an update the other day about it being extended to work in the WP admin. Yes, I did see that as well.
That could be really cool.
Which would be nice, yeah. So I guess that would like I don't know actually. It would kind of keep the menu on the left without having to sort of like, I think, and then like it would look cool. So
Yeah,
nice.
I think if used well, stuff like this can really aid, like, I don't know what the right word is. It's not just navigation, but like a sense of where you are on a website. You can kind of like, you can animate things so that you kind of know what's changing and like what new area or state that you've moved into. And I think that can be, yeah, I think it could be really useful. And it just like, I think it's probably one of those things that's just a really nice kind of cool modern effect rather than just complete refreshes of screens, like re-renders. So yeah, that's cool.
We talk about it with clients, don't we, when we're on pitches and things. Like we like animations, but like you can easily go too far.
Yeah.
And I think when I installed this, I just thought that's really nice. It's nice and subtle. It's not like a whole, moving everything around. It's just nice. So that's probably why I was impressed with it.
It did just make me think about a post that I read by Jono Alderson recently, and I don't think I can share the link. I can probably share the link in the comments. If I click join the chat, oh my god, no, I'm not even going to bother with that. So if you Google Jono Alderson, he is an independent technical SEO consultant. I believe he used to work at Yoast.
Yeah, I think he did.
His most recent blog post is called "JavaScript Broke the Web" and called it Progress. And it's a really good read about just how we have made building websites ridiculously complicated for no real benefit. Like in this endless quest for better developer experience. It's just developers building developer-y tools to impress other developers. And actually, what we had years ago was semantic performant web pages, and now it's just a hot mess of JavaScript frameworks and divs and garbage and complexity. So it's really good. It would resonate with you definitely, Mark, in terms of how he thinks, and just about keeping things simple and avoiding all the latest framework crazes, and why do we need to build blogs in React?
It always it's slightly different, like, because obviously it's not making a website hard for a user, but like it's back to the developer thing. Every time I run npm, it just makes you cry a little bit, doesn't it? It's like, just download the entire internet to my machine again. Stuff. It's just like, really? Do we have to do this like this? Just thought, no, it doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff is, it's that sort of stuff he's talking about. I completely agree with him.
I think, I mean, it is that kind of stuff. It's just like, why do we need all this architecture and build processes and blah, 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 blah to get something that is in the end actually worse? Do you know what I mean? Like, than what we started with. We started with these like plain static HTML pages that with semantic content, and they just loaded in an instant because it's just a text file. And now we've got all of this complexity in architecture, making our lives apparently better and easier, but actually much worse over, like, when it's aggregated over time. And now we've got slow, bloated websites that are really difficult to use and always break and blah blah blah. So like, where's the progress? Things look fancier, but actually, is anything else better? I don't really know.
Yeah, I agree. I remember building sites in Dreamweaver back in 2010-ish, probably.
Yeah.
I'm
not saying that's a better time.
No, I'm not saying it's better. I'm just saying it was easier. Like, you literally built HTML templates, whether they were tables back then, I don't know.
Exactly. But that's what it was.
We'll talk about after that, though. After the tables bit, we'll go to that bit.
Yeah.
And then you just had a CSS file and you just changed it, saved it, refreshed it. Simple.
Yeah, nice, right? Yeah.
But you couldn't do a lot of things. So there you go.
I mean, we're obviously, I wouldn't say Luddites, but like, we are on the side of like,
You're about cutting edge, Keith.
Not chasing all the latest and greatest tech, and just like sticking with what works. I don't know. In some ways, I think it's served us very well. And in some ways, I think we miss out on some stuff. But like, yeah, there's so many like rabbit holes that we could go down to make our kind of the developer experience better, but ultimately much more complicated. It's just things like, you know, even the way we version control stuff like isn't particularly complex, and we're not doing pull requests, and we're not doing continuous integration, and we're not doing just like any number, like, yeah, what are all those like automated checks every time you like you know, do pull requests and all that kind of stuff? We're not doing all that stuff. I've really tried to reduce the number of like front end build scripts, so I'm writing kind of plain CSS again on some of our projects. You've never really got into like Docker and Composer and like all that stuff on a PHP side, and it like, and we're still building websites that work. I just so what's the point in it all? I guess like if you're super smart and you've got the kind of mental capacity to A, learn, and B, keep that kind of stuff in your head, like you've set it all up. So I've set up my gulp or my whatever script it is, and I can come back to that in 3, 6, 12 months and just be like, yep, I remember what I did. This is this is how I change it. Or you go back to your Composer script or your whatever else, your continuous integration set up with hooks left, right, and center. If you're the kind of person that can keep that stuff in your head and just understand it again in an instant, then go for it. But like, I'm definitely just not that. So like, simplicity for me is, yeah.
I just hate it when you come across a GitHub like script or whatever someone's written and oh, this looks really good. It's like, just, yeah, brilliant. And it's like, oh, just go to the install section. You know, using Composer, just run this. It's like, how do I just put it in my project and use it? Like, it just seems overly complicated to me, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. Can I just download something, unzip it, and then put it in a folder?
And then just use it. Exactly. Yeah.
And then run a function, and it works.
Everybody understands that. You just download it, unzip it, include it, off you go.
Yeah.
Hey ho.
Yeah. There you go.
Right, I think we'll call it a day.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Bit of a rambling one today.
While I disappeared.
It's all right. Bit of an improvisation.
I just went for a sea swim. I just pretended that, you know.
That was a quick sea swim. You must have ran, jumped in, and run back again, and then got dry very quickly.
Yeah. It's hot.
Anyway, we will see you next week. Hopefully, hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you later. Bye bye.
See you soon. Bye.